I left my home infusion nursing job and now I'm a home health palliative care nurse, and I'm also 6 months pregnant. If you guys are new here to my channel, my name is Krizia and I am a registered nurse who specializes in home care nursing. I graduated from West Coast U January 2021 and I'm coming up on 4 years this June as a licensed registered nurse in California. So today's video is basically going to be talking about why I left my home infusion nursing job, what am I doing now, and how has it been working as a nurse and being pregnant. Let's get right into it. I left my home infusion nursing job because of the fact that there wasn't enough patients. So I've been a home care nurse for my entire nursing career. I did not work bedside, so I got my first job as a hospice RN admissions nurse with a small company that was owned by a couple. And I did that for 1 year. This company, and when you work with smaller agencies, obviously how you get paid and how successful the business is the customers, right? And so ours is patients. Whether the company is good at getting referrals or not, a lot of the success of business comes with the census. Same thing in the hospital. If you have a low census on your floor, right, you get floated to a different floor that needs more nurses or has patients for you to take on, or you get sent home. That's the same concept with home care nursing. If you're not familiar with home care nursing, it's basically being a field nurse where you go out to patients' homes and provide care. It could be home health, hospice, or palliative care nursing. This agency was small. There's like 4 full-time nurses and about 30 patients or so, 30 to 40 patients. All of a sudden, all of our patients can get discharged and the amount of admissions that we're doing is not that high to keep the census up. So what happens if there's not enough patients? Well, with my first company, I learned that they cut down hours. Full-time nurses became part-time nurses. And that's when I decided to leave that job because I wanted to be a case manager and there wasn't enough nurses for me to do that. So I left and went to a home health agency. Worked with this home health agency. There wasn't enough nurses to staff all these patients. There was a lot of upset patients, and they weren't able to keep their census up because they didn't have nurses available to service these patients. I only worked with this company for 3 months because of the fact that it was just, I felt overworked. I was seeing 8 to 10 patients a day, which is not realistic. I did not have any support. I was working overtime all the time. I was working the weekends. So I left that job after 3 months and found a job in home infusion nursing, which I completely love, by the way. And I thought that this was going to be the job that I kept for my entire career. When they initially hired me, they basically said, okay, look, we don't have a lot of cases right now, but we're looking to hire a nurse in the area in order to build the case. And I got my home infusion nursing job. The whole goal was for me to build and get my own caseload. And for the last 2 years, I was not getting a full caseload. Okay, there were literally days where I would not have any patients. I would still get paid my full-time hours. So if there are days where I had no patients, I would still get paid. Okay, that's how I was able to work a hospice job on the side without working more hours, because on the days where I had no patients for my home infusion job, I would see hospice patients, and so I was getting paid double for that. And for 2 years, you know, I would talk to the other nurse who trained me and were like, hey, how's your census? Are you having patients? Is there enough patients? And I just wouldn't have a full caseload. Over time, you know, you can't keep a business up if you don't have patients. And after 2 years, that's when I started seeing changes. I was getting emails from my director saying, hey, if you don't have patients, please help us out with chart auditing or quality assurance, or do this and do that. And then all of a sudden I get an email that my clinical supervisor in my area, as well as my director of patient care services, were both leaving within the next 7 days. And I was like, okay, based on my experience with working with other home care agencies, when leadership starts to change, if things start to happen, I know in the background something's going on. So I was like, okay, just based on my experience, that's a red flag. And I loved my clinical supervisor. I loved my director. And the fact that they were both leaving all of a sudden was just like, whoa, okay, what the hell is going on? So I started looking for other jobs. And luckily I found a job that had an opening for a home health palliative care position, and I applied, got an interview within 2 weeks, and then after the interview I got an offer within 48 hours and I took it. And then I gave my 1 month to my home infusion nursing job. And next thing you know, about a week later after accepting that position, I get an email saying, okay, So all full-time employees are not considered full-time employees anymore. You would only clock in when you provide patient care. So if you need to reach that full 40-hour work week or that 80-hour paycheck, we're going to have to pull out your hours from your vacation and paid time off to fill that gap. And I was like, no, good thing I left. Good thing I read those signs. I was looking for a job with stability. I was looking for a job for a long-term employment, and I got offered the position for one. And now I'm working as a home health and palliative care nurse. I started end of October of last year, and I'm not gonna lie, it's been kind of difficult because I was on a 90-day probation. The training was very intense. It was the most training I've ever gotten with a home health or home care company, agency, or in general in self and home care. So there was a lot of expectations, and it was a big learning curve for me. So now you're wondering, okay, what do you do as a home care palliative care nurse? I'm still building up my caseload as a palliative care nurse, but there's so much available patients for me to take on in home health that if I don't have a full caseload with my palliative care patients, then I can take on patients in home health. I have worked as a hospice nurse, as a home health, home infusion, so palliative care nursing is new to me. The basics in terms of home health. What do I do in home health? I go out and see patients for wound care. It could just be a simple skin tear wound care, or it could be as difficult as a wound vac. We also do IV infusions, ostomies, ileostomies, urinary catheters, medication management. All those things is what I do for home health. Now, what's the difference between that and palliative care nursing? Palliative care nursing is the next step from home health with patients who have a terminal diagnosis of 12 months to live. They have a skilled need. Most of the time, it's cancer patients who need pain management, or it could be a heart failure patient who's having edema, chronic edema that can be managed at home, or a patient who has end-stage COPD that we're helping them manage their shortness of breath symptoms. These are patients who want to manage all their symptoms at home, and they're like right before hospice. Patients who know that they're kind of at the end stage there, but are not ready to fully commit onto hospice. And then you have hospice patients who are comfort care, who are dying and who no longer want to be hospitalized. In terms of my overall job, I am loving it, and I love what I do. I still am able to make my own schedule, every day. But it's not fully on like IV infusion nursing. Sometimes it's very quick visits, sometimes it's long visits. Now, how has it been working as a full-time nurse while being pregnant? When I first started my new job, I was literally 6 weeks, and at that time I started having nausea, but majority of the first month was me being in the office all day, which I did not like at all, doing education and training and modules. And it was the time where survey was coming, and so a lot of the clinical leadership team was dealing with the surveys coming, so not a lot of time was spent with me on training for the first month. And it wasn't until about 2 months to 3 months after my hire date is when I started going out precepting. I precepted for a good almost 2 months. I'm still learning a lot. It's been 6 months with the company, and I am enjoying it so far. And now that I'm in 6 months in, it's been not a difficult pregnancy. I haven't been having a lot of problems other than, knock on wood, other than having to pee a lot more. So I always have to stop by somewhere to pee. Walking sometimes is painful. I get like a lot of pelvic pain. But the thing about home care nursing is it's not very labor intensive, meaning I don't have to be walking all the time. I spend literally most of my hours driving in the car, or when I'm seeing a patient, I'm sitting down doing wound care or standing for maybe 30 minutes to an hour at a time. And even then, I'm still able to sit during the visits with my patients, and because most of the time it's a lot of talking as well. So if you guys have been on here, thank you guys for watching. Hoping to start to get more into YouTube again. I say that every single time, but I really want to get right back into it. Do a lot more vlogs now, long-term vlogs. It's been very difficult for me to record with my current employer because I'm terrified of getting scrutinized. It's not going to be a lot of videos that you'll be seeing me in inpatient or like in my patients' homes anymore. But again, thank you guys for watching. I can't wait to be posting more on YouTube. Hopefully I'll be posting at least twice a month, starting off with twice a month, and just updating a lot on talking about how it is being a home health nurse, palliative care nurse, what's my job pay now, how it is being pregnant as a home health nurse. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you for subscribing.